I never thought I'd be the kind of soldier who'd carry an enemy combatant on my back through a burning valley. But war has a way of rewriting everything you thought you knew about yourself, about duty, and about what it means to be human when the world is collapsing around you. My name is Marcus Kane, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, 75th Ranger Regiment. I've been deployed 3 times, Afghanistan twice, and then this final rotation that changed everything. This is the story of how I disappeared into the smoke, not as a deserter, not as a coward, but as something I'm still trying to understand. The Hindu Kush Mountains in late September have this deceptive beauty. The air gets crisp, the sky turns this impossible shade of blue, and for just a moment before dawn you can almost forget you're in a war zone. Almost. We were 20 kilometers outside of Kandahar, tasked with a routine reconnaissance mission. My squad, 8 of us including myself, had been tracking suspected insurgent movement through a narrow valley that intelligence said was a supply route. "Kane, you seeing this?" Corporal Davis whispered through the comms, his voice crackling in my earpiece. I adjusted my binoculars, scanning the terrain. The valley was quiet, too quiet. No shepherds, no villagers, no signs of daily life. "Nothing yet," I replied. "Stay alert." Specialist Rodriguez shifted beside me, his M4 carbine resting easy in his grip. "Staff Sergeant, you feel that?" "Feel what?" "I don't know. Just something's off." Rodriguez had good instincts. I'd learned to trust them. I keyed the radio. "All units, tighten up, eyes open." That's when the world exploded. The first RPG screamed over our position, so close I felt the heat wash over my face. I was moving before my brain caught up, muscle memory taking over. Contact, northeast, 300 meters." I was shouting into the radio, rolling behind a boulder as automatic weapons fire tore up the ground where I'd been lying seconds before. The ambush was textbook perfect. They'd waited until we were strung out along the valley approach, caught between the high ground and nowhere to go. "Davis, what's your position?" I called out. Static. Then a burst of gunfire. Then his voice, strained. "Pin down, Staff Sergeant. Can't move without getting cut to pieces." The firefight lasted 17 minutes, though it felt like hours. We were giving as good as we got, but we were exposed, outnumbered and running low on options. That's when I heard the sound that changes everything in combat. A scream, not American, not one of my guys. It came from the northeast, from somewhere in the enemy position, but it wasn't a battle cry. It was pain, pure and simple, the universal sound of a human being in agony. "Ceasefire," I ordered. "Ceasefire." The shooting sputtered out. In the ringing silence that followed, I heard it again, that scream, now reduced to a low, keening moan. "Someone's hit over there," I said. "Sounds bad." "Not our problem," Sergeant Williams called from his position. "We need to extract before they regroup." He was right. Tactically, strategically, by every rule in the book, we needed to fall back. But that sound, that human sound of suffering, it wouldn't leave my head. I made a decision that I still can't fully explain. "Cover me," I said, handing my rifle to Rodriguez. "If this goes wrong, you pull back." "That's an order." I stood slowly, hands raised, and stepped out from behind my cover. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I expected a bullet at any moment, but no shots came. I walked forward slowly, picking my way through the rocks. The moaning grew louder, and then I saw him. He couldn't have been more than 20 years old, sprawled behind a low wall of rocks. His left leg twisted at an angle that made my stomach turn. Blood soaked through his dusty clothes, pooling beneath him. When he saw me, his eyes went wide with pure terror. "I'm not going to hurt you," I said in Pashto, one of the few phrases I'd learned. He said something back, rapid and desperate, that I couldn't follow, but I didn't need to understand the words to know he was begging for his life. I knelt beside him, examining his leg, compound fracture, arterial bleeding. Without immediate medical attention, he had maybe 30 minutes. "Kane, what are you doing?" William's voice crackled in my earpiece. "Getting a wounded combatant." "Are you insane? Leave him." Maybe I was insane, but I couldn't leave him there to bleed out alone in the dirt. I got his leg wrapped and stabilized. Then I got him into a fireman's carry, his weight settling across my shoulders. He groaned in pain, but he didn't fight me. "Moving back to position," I reported. "Do not fire." The walk back was the longest 50 meters of my life. Every step I expected gunfire from his people or mine, but I made it. Rodriguez pulled us both behind cover. "Medic," I called. "We need a medic now." And that's when everything got complicated. The wounded fighter lay on the rocky ground, his breathing shallow and rapid. Corporal Jameson, our medic, was already working on him with professional efficiency. That's when I noticed the others, my squad, watching me with expressions I couldn't quite read. "Staff Sergeant," Sergeant Williams approached. "What the hell are we doing?" "Saving a life. That's the enemy, Kane. He was shooting at us 10 minutes ago. He's a wounded human being now." The radio crackled. "Bravo 3, this is Overwatch. Report status." I keyed the mic. "Overwatch, Bravo 3. Contact resolved. One enemy combatant wounded and in custody. Requesting medevac." There was a long pause. "Bravo 3, say again. Enemy combatant in custody?" "Affirmative. He's critical. Need that medevac ASAP." Another pause, then a different voice. "Bravo 3, secure the combatant and await further instructions. Extraction team inbound. ETA 30 mics. 30 minutes. I looked at the wounded man. Jameson's face told me everything. It was going to be close. "He's not going to make it 30 minutes, Jameson said quietly. "Then keep him alive. That's an order too." Rodriguez crouched beside me. "Staff Sergeant, can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "Why'd you do it? Risk yourself for him?" I was quiet for a moment. "You ever read about World War I, Rodriguez?" "Some, yeah. There was this thing that happened, Christmas 1914. British and German soldiers were dug into trenches, killing each other day after day. Then on Christmas, they just stopped, climbed out, met in no man's land, played soccer, sang carols, showed each other pictures of their families. The Christmas truce. The generals were furious, threatened to shoot anyone who did it again, because they understood something dangerous, that once you see the enemy as human, once you recognize yourself in them, it becomes harder to kill them." Rodriguez looked at the wounded man, then back at me. "So that's what you saw?" "I heard my own voice," I said. "If that makes any sense." Rodriguez nodded. "Yeah, Staff Sergeant, I think it does." The sound of helicopter rotors announced our extraction. 2 Black Hawks crested the ridge, sweeping in fast and low. But it wasn't a medical team that jumped out. It was 4 MPs, military police, weapons ready. "Staff Sergeant Kane, that's me. You're to return to base immediately. All of you. Secure that combatant for transport. He needs medical attention. He'll get what he needs." "Move out, Staff Sergeant. That's a direct order from Colonel Briggs himself." Something in my gut twisted. We loaded up, the wounded man strapped to a stretcher between us. As we lifted off, I watched the valley disappear below, smoke still rising from where the ambush had gone down. When we touched down at Bagram Airfield, there was a medical team waiting, but there were also more MPs, and a full bird colonel I didn't recognize. They took the wounded man away. The rest of us were escorted to a briefing room. Colonel Briggs was waiting. He was in his 50s with iron-gray hair and a face carved from granite. He didn't sit, didn't invite us to sit. "Staff Sergeant Kane," he said, "would you mind explaining to me what the hell you were thinking out there?" I stood at attention. "Sir, I encountered a wounded enemy combatant in need of immediate medical attention. I made the decision to extract him along with my squad." "You made the decision. Tell me, Staff Sergeant, does your decision-making authority include turning combat operations into humanitarian missions?" "Sir, the Geneva Conventions require—" "Don't lecture me on the Geneva Conventions, Sergeant." He stepped closer. "You exposed your entire squad to additional risk. You transported an enemy combatant who could have been gathering intelligence. You created an international incident that I'm now going to have to explain to people who make more in a year than you'll see in your lifetime." "Sir, he was dying. I couldn't—" "You couldn't what? Do your job? Follow protocol?" Briggs shook his head. "You're a good soldier, Kane. Your record shows that. But good soldiers who can't follow orders become dead soldiers. Or worse, they get other soldiers killed. Your squad is confined to base pending investigation. You're all to make yourselves available for CID interviews, and Kane, you're grounded. No more field operations until this is resolved." "Sir, my squad had nothing to do with—" "Your squad followed you, Sergeant. That's what squads do." "Dismissed." Outside, Williams said quietly, "For what it's worth, I would have left him, but I also would have hated myself for it. So maybe you made the right call." The investigation took 3 days. 3 days of interviews, statements, and watching my squad get grilled by CID agents. 3 days of waiting to hear whether my career was over. On the 4th day, Corporal Jameson found me in the chow hall. "Staff Sergeant, you need to hear this. The combatant, the one you brought in. What about him? He's talking. He's been asking for you. The doctors say he wouldn't have made it another 15 minutes when we found him. You actually saved his life. There's more. He's not Taliban. He's not even Afghan." "What?" "Pakistani. He was studying engineering in Islamabad when he got recruited. But Kane, he's got information. about the network that recruited him, about cells operating on both sides of the border. Intelligence is going crazy over it. Before I could respond, an MP appeared. Staff Sergeant Kane, Colonel Briggs wants to see you, now. When I entered Briggs' office, he wasn't alone. There were two men in civilian clothes, CIA I'd bet, and a one-star general I recognized as General Morrison. Staff Sergeant Kane, Morrison said, gesturing to a chair. Sit. I sat. Your wounded combatant has been very talkative. Apparently you made quite an impression on him. He says he wants to help us because you showed him Americans aren't what he was told we were. Sir, I was just doing what I thought was right. What you thought was right could have gotten you killed, one of the CIA men said. He was young and tense. It could have compromised our operations. But it didn't, the other CIA man said, older and calmer. Instead, it gave us a potential asset with information we've been trying to get for 18 months. General Morrison leaned forward. Here's the situation, Kane. Your actions were questionable, but the results are undeniable. The combatant, his name is Hamid, is providing intelligence that could disrupt multiple cells. He's also expressed a willingness to cooperate further. Cooperate how, sir? That's classified. But it involves you. He trusts you. He's asked if you could be present during some of the debriefings. Sir, I'm not an interrogator. We're not asking you to interrogate anyone, just be present. A familiar face. What about my squad? The investigation? Closed. No charges. You'll all receive commendations, and your after-action reports will reflect the complex nature of modern warfare. I'll do whatever you need, sir. Over the next week, I spent several hours each day in a secure room with Hamid. His leg was heavily bandaged, but he was alive and recovering. At first, our conversations were awkward. My Pashto was terrible. His English wasn't much better. But slowly, we found a rhythm. Why you saved me? Hamid asked one day. Because you needed help. I shoot at you, try to kill you. Yeah, you did. So why? Because war shouldn't make us monsters. Because the moment we stop seeing the humanity in our enemies is the moment we lose our own. Hamid was quiet for a long time. In my country, they tell us Americans are devils, that you have no honor, no heart. But you different. You carry enemy on your back when you could leave him to die. This is not devil. This is human. The intelligence he provided was invaluable. It led to the disruption of 3 separate cells, prevented at least 2 planned attacks. Lives were saved because I'd made a split-second decision to treat an enemy as a human being. But nothing is ever simple in war. On my 10th day of working with Hamid, I arrived for our usual session to find the room empty. The older CIA man was waiting in the hall. His expression told me everything. Where is he? I demanded. He's been transferred. Different facility, different program. That's all I can tell you. Transferred where? Why wasn't I informed? Because you're not part of this operation, Sergeant. You were a tool we used to gain trust, and now that trust has been established, we don't need the tool anymore. A tool? This is bigger than you, bigger than him. The information he's providing could save hundreds of lives, but to get that information, he needs to be properly debriefed. I knew what that meant. You're going to torture him. I'm not going to discuss operational details. Your involvement is concluded. You've been reassigned. You ship out tomorrow. Where? Classified until you're in transit. But it's not Afghanistan. Congratulations, Kane. You're going home. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Hamid's face, kept hearing his voice. This is human. I'd saved his life only to deliver him into the hands of people who might destroy it in different ways. Rodriguez found me sitting outside around 0300 hours. I heard you're shipping out, he said. Yeah. You're a crazy son of a bitch, but you're a good leader. I'm not sure about that anymore. You did something none of us had the courage to do. You treated the enemy like a person, and that scared everyone because it reminded them that we're all just people. And where did it get him? Alive. You brought him in alive. What happens after that? That's on them, not you. But the thing is, I already was carrying that weight. The flight home was a blur. When I touched down at Fort Benning, Georgia, the summer heat felt oppressive after months in the dry Afghan air. My new assignment was training duty. I'd be instructing new Rangers on advanced combat techniques. It was an honor, really. But I felt like I was being shelved. The first few weeks were rough. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, dreaming of carrying Hamid through the valley. Except in the dreams, the valley never ended, and the weight on my back kept getting heavier. Then, about a month after my return, I got a visitor. The older CIA man from Bagram. He'd aged since I'd last seen him. Can we talk somewhere private? We ended up in a conference room. I'm not supposed to be here. This conversation never happened. Are we clear? Clear. Hamid is dead. The words landed like artillery fire. What? He died 3 weeks ago. Officially, complications from his injuries. Unofficially, he trailed off. Unofficially, what? His death wasn't from his leg injury. He was being questioned aggressively, very aggressively, and things went wrong. I was on my feet. You killed him. After everything, you killed him. Not me, Sergeant. I fought against the transfer, but I was overruled. People higher up wanted results faster, so they tortured him to death. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The CIA man stood looking older and more tired than anyone should look. I came here because you deserved to know, because you tried to do the right thing. I'm sorry, Kane, but this is what war is. And sometimes the good guys don't win. They just survive long enough to become something they don't recognize. He left, and I stood there feeling like the world had tilted off its axis. I submitted my resignation papers the next morning. There were questions, exit interviews. I gave them the official reasons, ready for civilian life, time to settle down. They didn't need to know the truth. The truth was that I was disappearing into the smoke. 3 months later, I was out. Civilian Marcus Kane, veteran. I moved to a small town in Montana, as far from military bases and war as I could get. I got a job with a local construction company, doing honest work with my hands. So I don't talk much about Afghanistan. When people thank me for my service, I nod, because they mean well and they don't need to carry the weight I carry. But I think about it every day. I think about how I carried an enemy on my back, how in that moment, he wasn't an enemy at all, just a young man who was scared and hurt and far from home. I think about how that single act of mercy gave us intelligence that saved lives, but cost him his own. Some nights when the Montana wind picks up and I can smell smoke from someone's wood stove, I'm back there, and I ask myself, would I do it differently? The answer is always the same, no, because in that moment I was human. I acted with mercy and compassion. What happened after, the corruption of that moment by forces I couldn't control, that's not on me. Rodriguez was right. I can only carry the weight of my own choices. Last week I got a letter, no return address. Inside was a photograph showing Hamid before the war, wearing a university sweater, his arm around a woman I assumed was his mother, both smiling. On the back, in handwriting I didn't recognize, "You tried. That still matters. I don't know who sent it. Maybe it doesn't matter." I keep the photograph on my nightstand. When I wake up in the middle of the night, when the smoke fills my dreams, I look at it. I see Hamid as he was before the war. I see him as human. And I remember that in a valley in Afghanistan, for just a moment I was human too. That's my story. That's how I carried the enemy on my back and disappeared into the smoke. Not as a hero, not as a villain, just as a soldier who made a choice and learned to live with the weight of it. The smoke never really clears. You don't get clean endings in war. You just get moments of clarity, of humanity, and you hope they're enough. For me, that moment has to be enough. The proof that even in hell you can choose differently. You can choose to be human, and maybe that choice still matters, even when the smoke is too thick to see anything else.